When doing back loop tapestry crochet in the round, some folks have a problem with too much of the carried yarn showing through. I have 3 little tricks to help you with this, so stay tuned. Hi, my name is Sandy Marie, and I'm a crochet fiber artist. My personal focus is on tapestry crochet. My goal with these videos is to inspire the artist in each of you and to teach techniques to help you get there. When working back loop tapestry crochet in the round, one of the big complaints I hear is that too much of the carried yarn is showing through on their design. In this video, I'm going to share 3 little tricks that can help. So let's get started. Little trick number 1 really isn't a trick. It's more just getting used to the feeling of your yarn and your tension. Now, especially if you're newer to this type of crochet, it's easy to forget that you need to adjust the height of your stitch to compensate for the yarn that you're carrying. Yes, it's very important to keep your stitches nice and even, but your stitches need to be comfortable, not too tight, not too loose, and they need to compensate for the carried yarn. So when you're crocheting, remember to draw that loop up just a little bit so that it hides the yarn, but it doesn't squish the stuff that's behind it. As you can see, this really isn't a trick. It's something you need to practice with. Now, let's head over into my video area so I can show you the other 2 little tricks. Welcome to my little video area. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Every Tuesday I show little techniques, often just a trick or 2, to help you get better results from your crochet projects. This is trick number 2. What I'm asking is what color is directly behind the stitch that you're making. Let me show you something here. First of all, this is a design that I am working on, and it will be available in my shop soon. I've named it Desert Flowers. See the teeny tiny little flowers there? So I decided, why not just use this as something to show you what I'm doing so you get a better idea. So let me tighten this stitch up here a little bit. And let me show you something. When you're crocheting in the round, you have to ask yourself what color is directly behind the stitch. And there is a way to control that. So I want you to see this. Now, there's my hook. Now I can either have the white stitch directly behind the blue, or I could have the yellow stitch directly behind the blue. Isn't that interesting? You can control the color that's directly behind. Now normally what I do is I either pick a color that I want to be the contrast, like a dark blue behind a light blue, or I will choose a color that is closest to the color that I'm using. In this case, I want the contrast. So I am going to arrange this so that the white is directly behind the stitch. You do that by positioning your colors on your hook going towards the hook. So in this case, I am working with my blue. I want the contrast of the white behind, so this goes closest to the work. And then the yellow I would like to have just buried very far behind, so that is behind the white. Now you can do this with as many colors as you're carrying, so it doesn't really matter. So all you would do then is hold your yarn in place, and you would go ahead and crochet. See how the white is staying there? Okay.
So now, if there is a color that is showing through, and I don't know if you can see this, it's going to be the white, not the yellow. Okay, and I'm going to do one more because that's what my pattern calls for. The white is closest to my work, the yellow is furthest away. The white is closest to the work, the yellow is closest to the hook. Whoop, there we go. And there you have it. Now, a color that shows through is either going to complement your work or it's going to kind of fade into the background of the work. So I'm going to take those two stitches out because I want to show you the next thing. So I'm going to pause this real quick and take the stitches out, and I'll be right back. So this is trick number 3. Have you ever heard of a single crochet variety of stitch that's called a square single crochet? I am kind of a hard case when it comes to doing my tapestry crochet, because no matter what I try to do, I always crochet too tight. I think it's just my way. The square single crochet solves it when nothing else will. Now, what do I mean by a square single crochet? You know, when you're normally crocheting, you end up with a V on the bottom of every single stitch. What the square single crochet does is it squares it up a little bit more. It's not a perfect square, but you can see here I've been working with the square single crochet, and you can see how it has actually created a difference here. You can see how it has opened the stitch up just a little bit so that you actually have a little bit more surface area to cover the yarn that's behind. So let me show you how this works. It's a little hard to get used to, but with a little bit of practice you can do real well. So again, oh, by the way, that right there is a square single crochet. Alrighty, so you would insert your hook like you normally would. I arrange my yarn whether I'm doing a square single crochet or not. You yarn over just exactly like you would to make a normal single crochet stitch. Now here's where the tiny little difference is. Instead of yarning over again, you catch your yarn from behind and just pull it through. What this does is it makes more of a square. You can see the square here. Makes more of a square so that you have, again, more surface area covering the yarn that's behind. So I'm going to show you again because it really is a nice stitch. So you would insert your hook just like you normally would, back loop. Then you would yarn over as you normally do and pull that loop through. Then your hook goes behind the yarn that you're using and it simply pulls through both loops on the hook. And that gives you more of that square, more surface covering the yarn that's behind, and it actually gives you a very, very good look to your work. Now I'm going to poof this out a little bit here so you can see. See if I can do this here so you can really see a good shot of it. This is using the square single crochet. And by the way, if you're looking at any really old patterns and the pattern calls for an SSC, that is calling for a square single crochet. For some reason, this particular stitch just didn't make it through the ages. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how you want to look at it, I'm old enough that I remember being taught the square single crochet. So this is what it looks like. You'll see that, I'm going to show you specifically here the white. You'll see that there's very little yarn that's actually showing through. Now this is my test run, so I didn't really worry about what yarn was behind. But this is a real good way for me to show you here. This is white where I put the yellow, so that the yellow was in front. This is white where I put the blue, so the blue showed through a little bit better. So you can actually see how that one worked. So if I wanted a warmer appearance to this particular design, I would use the yellow behind the white, which would warm the white up. If I wanted to cool the design down, I would use the blue behind so that the blue would cool the white down. So there you have it. That's 3 very simple tricks that I'm sure you're going to absolutely love. Try them, play with them, use them, find out what works for you the best. Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time to watch. I hope these little tricks help with your back loop tapestry crochet in the round. If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe. If you want to get notifications, click the bell that's next to the subscribe button. Also, take a moment to read the notes below. There's a lot of good information there. Now, question of the week. How long have you been back loop tapestry crocheting in the round? Please leave your answer in the comments below. The questions help me create video content that helps you. So, I'll see you next Tuesday. Until then, make it an awesome week.